doing? We are waiting for our interview person to come in. She did inform us that she's down the street, a couple minutes running behind as usual. But we are waiting on her, guys. I'm just doing a little test run on my equipment while we're waiting on her, making sure everything's set up right. So thank you guys for being here. Hi guys, wakey wakey. Thank you guys for being here and tuning in. We do have a young lady that's coming here, guys, and going to explain to us what's going on and what happened to her child. She said her child is now 8 years old, and her child went to the restroom, and something happened to her child inside the restroom. Um, the child had, I don't want to get too much into details until she get here, but I want to entertain you guys for a second, and I'm gonna end this live, come back with a new live. I'm glad I was able to start it to make sure my lights and everything look great. They look great. My tone look great. My voice is great, and well, her child went to the restroom. And for the guys on YouTube that never been into my studio, this is the Rhoda Young Live studio, and thank you guys for tuning in. The 7-year-old child went to the restroom. Another child, okay, here they come, guys. They coming in. Oh, she got the baby with her too. Oh, she got a daughter with. Oh, she got the daughter with her too. Oh my God, the little girl with her too. Oh, they coming. I gotta unlock the door. Do y'all want me in the video? Or do y'all want to keep it on? I know y'all so nosy. Y'all want to keep the video on, but I'm gonna end it. Y'all nosy. Let me go let them in. Y'all stay right here then. I'm gonna let them in. Y'all stay right here. Do you want to come with us, baby? Okay. Dad, okay, baby, will be online too?
Yeah. You don't have to say anything, baby. Okay.
All right, everything has been like slowed down and everything. Um, it's a chair there, so I want to sit on that side. It's a chair right there. That. Did you want to be on TV, Dad, or you just gonna be in the background?
I'll be in the background.
Okay. Mom, you can have a seat right here.
Okay, come here, Celeste.
You sure you want her up there?
Do you want to be up here, or do you?
You don't have to be up here, okay?
You just want to stay there? Okay.
You want to be on the TV?
Okay, come here.
She just woke up.
Okay, Mom, you sure you want up here?
I'm sure. She's
Okay.
okay.
All right, guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am the infamous Miss Rhoda Young Live. I have been this young lady has been trying to get in contact with me for days now, and she finally got the opportunity on this morning to get in contact with me. I got, well, matter of fact, on yesterday I noticed the emails, and she said, I've been trying to get in contact with you. I've been emailing you, and emailing you. She said, I need your help. It's about my daughter. I need your help. So what I did was I forwarded her my personal phone number, and she contacted me on this morning. Mom, can you tell me why did you get in contact with me, and what was so important that you got in contact with me?
My son. At the, like a week before pandemic leave let out last school year, I received a phone call from the principal at my daughter's elementary school. And he proceeded to tell me that my daughter Celeste had been sexually assaulted.
Wow.
And he also told me that it wasn't one incident, that it had been happening for a period of 2 years.
Wow.
So when he told me, you know, I heard him, but I really wasn't hearing him. And I sat there and I was just like, hold on, what?
I don't want to sit next to you.
And he was like, yes, the other student involved confessed, and it was verified through other students. And
What you mean the other student confessed?
the person who assaulted my baby confessed.
That she was molesting or raping your child?
Yes. So let's go sit with her, Kaylin.
Okay.
She confessed. She
Wow.
admitted it. And then there were other students who corroborated it.
Wow.
Who
Let's be quiet.
So after I lost my mom, I went to the school and I got my baby. There was there
Give me 1 second, guys.
okay.
Go with your sister?
Do you want to stay here or do you want to go with your sister?
Can I sit over there?
No. I'm sorry about
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. Sorry, guys. That's okay. So the school contacted you and informed you that your child was been raped or molested inside of the school.
Correct.
The principal said that the other child confessed to
She
it.
confessed. And it was a girl, and she confessed. And yeah, it was a lot. And so through this time period, it was the week before pandemic leave, and the assistant principal at Tyler had told me that I could keep my daughter out of school as long as I needed to, that it would be excused. They were very sympathetic to the situation. I kept her out of school for a week, and then they let out for pandemic leave and didn't go back for the rest of the school year.
Okay.
So the nightmare of this situation didn't start to happen until it went from being in the hands of the school and then went to school administration.
They keep coming.
Uh,
Yeah, okay.
One,
They're going to. Can you keep them in the hallway, baby? It's just really messed up the video. Can you assist in the hallway? Maybe it's in the hallway.
I got it.
Okay, thank you, sweetheart.
but yeah, the nightmare with this situation didn't occur until it transferred to school administration. They refused to address it at all. I had to hire an attorney, and my requests were very simple. I asked that Celeste, number one, be evaluated for gifted programming because
Before we go there, because the video was kind of interrupted, and I want to make sure that everybody's understanding. Okay, we got total attention now. Your daughter was molested or raped inside the school.
correct.
The principal contacted you and informed you.
Yes.
What was your response when you found out your child was being molested or raped inside the school?
I flipped out.
How did they find out Celeste was being molested in school? What happened that they found out that she was being molested?
She went to the nurse's office vomiting. When she returned back to class, her teacher told her, she said, "Look, Celeste, you don't seem like yourself. What's wrong?" And she offloaded. And the teacher contacted the guidance counselor and school administration. The guidance counselor interviewed Celeste, interviewed her assaulter, and interviewed other children that knew about the situation. And they were able to corroborate everything.
Wow.
So it wasn't a situation where it was an elongated investigation or anything like that. The person who assaulted my baby confessed.
What made her sick to her stomach? What made her throw up? Like, what caused her to like vomit and things like that?
The way, okay, my daughter, as you saw,
Right.
is very small
Tiny.
in
Yeah.
stature. She's very small in stature. The person who assaulted her was close to 2 to 3 times her size. She was a year older and like 2 to 3 times her size. So what she would do is she would follow my daughter to the bathroom. She would physically assault her by pushing Celeste's head into her crotch and forcing her to give her oral sex.
Wow. Wow. So another student was forcing your 7-year-old child at the time to perform oral sex on her in the school restroom.
Correct.
On that day when she forced Celeste to give her oral sex, Celeste had got sick to her stomach, and when she was returning to to the classroom, she was so sick to her stomach. What happened to her? She was throwing up.
She was throwing up.
They
She
sent her
was vomiting.
to the nurse's office, not knowing what was wrong with her.
Exactly.
They wanted to make sure she was okay. Once Les got to the nurse's office and came back, the teacher say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, something wrong.
Is
She
something
didn't seem
wrong?
like herself.
And that's when Celeste say, "No, I'm not okay."
Yeah, and she offloaded.
And she told the teacher what the student has been doing. And this student this was not her first time doing this. She has been doing this to your child for how long?
2 years.
For 2 years. Now people want to know, how was she doing this to your child for 2 years? Can you explain to them how she was doing this to your child for 2 years?
There was, I mean,
The school, like 1 year they was in class.
okay. They were in the same class for both first and second grade. In first grade, while they were in, you know, it happened while they were in first grade.
Okay.
And then originally, Celeste and this student were not in the same class for second grade. But she was moved into my daughter's class after she caused a significant behavioral issue with the teacher who she was assigned to. And then she was moved into my daughter's class.
Wow.
So this is a student that had significant behavior problems and who they should have had an extra set of eyes on at all times.
Wow.
And because it didn't, it allowed for this situation to continue to perpetuate itself.
So she was already allegedly a child with issues.
Correct.
And they dropped the ball by moving her out of one classroom into another one where she started the second year to molest and rape your child.
Exactly.
So moving forward, they found out your child was being molested. They called you. You was at work. You work at a college, and you run down to the school. You cannot even swallow what they just told you.
At all.
So you get to the principal office and they tell you what happened. What was your reaction once they told you that?
Well, I already knew what had occurred. So when I walked into the conference room, there was the principal, the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, her teacher, and the school resource officer.
Can we ask you what school was this and what part of Virginia, what school was she attending?
John Tyler Elementary School in Hampton.
Wow.
So I walked into the conference room and Celeste was in the assistant principal's office. She ran into my arms and I cried for a good 20 minutes. And then I asked her, I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And what she said is that the other student told her that if she told on her, that she would kill me.
Wow.
And because I was so active in the school, like I would take my lunch break and spend time with Celeste to let her know that I was invested in her education. And she was, even though for adults, it's logical to think, 8-year-old girl is not going to do anything to an adult.
Right.
But for a 7-year-old, they don't know that.
Right.
So she believed her when she said that she was going to do me harm.
Wow.
And that's why she didn't say anything to anybody before this time. And I think it was just that this last time that it occurred and it made her physically sick, she
Couldn't take it anymore.
couldn't take it anymore. So that's what happened.
So we in the principal office. The mother now has been informed. The school is taking the proper protocol. They told the mother, you can take Celeste home, keep her home as long as you want to. She kept her home for a week, and guess what happened, guys? You wouldn't believe what happened. We got hit with the COVID-19. So being that we got hit with the COVID-19, the school thought it was going to all just go away in the wash. And the mama say, no, not this time and not my daughter. I don't care about the COVID-19. What are y'all going to do about what happened to my baby under y'all care, under y'all supervision inside of y'all school? What can y'all promise to me this for the safety of my child when it's time for my child to return to school? Can you take it from there?
So I did hire a lawyer, and these were my demands from Hampton City Schools.
Okay.
Number one, that they test Celeste for gifted programming.
Right.
Because if she can maintain honor roll while this was happening, then what can she do when she's not being assaulted?
Right.
They refused that at first. They did eventually test her for Spratly, and she didn't get in, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
I just wanted to test it. The next thing is that they give my husband and I the ability to choose what school we wanted Celeste at. They refused that. We requested Armstrong and we requested Asbury, and they refused both. They mentioned another school, but that school had worse test scores than the school that she was coming from.
So they wanted to send your child to a school
That was worse than
the school she was already
that
in.
she was already in.
So why was you worried about how bad the school was if your child's safety was in concern? Why was her education to you important?
I mean, when you come to a situation like this, I want, and any parent wants the best opportunity for their child despite, any circumstances. And I didn't want a situation like this to make Celeste deficient.
Right.
If she's already doing well, then I want her in an environment where she can be safe and where she can continue to do well. And that's why I told them schools that I knew were better schools in the city of Hampton, so that she would be able to continue to thrive. And how I feel is that regardless of whatever reason I had for her going to whatever school I wanted, it doesn't matter. They should have offered that from the door.
Right.
Like, that shouldn't have been something that I had to ask for.
And why should your school go to your child that was raped in their school have to go to a school that's not doing well on an academic level?
Absolutely.
It was like your child was going to be the one being punished by being removed out of the school.
Exactly.
Let me know about another demand you made for them.
Okay.
You asked them about your child and the other child being in the same school.
I did. I asked that the other student and my daughter never be in the same school ever in life while they are students in Hampton City Schools. And I asked for Celeste to have priority. So if they get to middle school, Hampton has choice middle schools. So
what is choice middle school?
Choice middle schools is where you can either go to the school that you're assigned, or you can apply to a choice middle school. And the two choice middle schools are Eaton and Jones.
Okay.
So if Celeste went to Jones, then this student could not go to Jones.
Okay.
Despite the circumstance. If when they get to high school, Hampton has academies.
Okay.
So we might be zoned for Kickingham, but let's say Celeste wanted to go to an academy at Bethel. Then the other student can't go to an academy at Bethel.
Okay.
Period.
So what you was trying to do was protect your child and make sure they don't come in contact
With each other.
ever
again while they are students at Hampton City Schools, and HCS refused to give me that demand.
Let me ask you this: when the grades came out and the honor roll list came out, beforehand, were you told the other child was taken out that school?
Yes, I was told that
The other
I
child.
was told that she was going to be suspended for 10 days and that the school had recommended that she be long-term suspended or expelled. When they went back to school first semester of the next school year, when they both were in third grade, my daughter she said, "Mommy, insert girl's name, is back at Tyler." I was like, "She's back at Tyler." And Celeste was like, "She's back at Tyler." And I asked her how she knew. She showed me the list, and sure enough, she was back at Tyler. And to make matters worse, this student and my daughter's cousin are in the same class.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, for the school to let you down, so now you're disappointed with the school system because they made a promise to you that they won't be able to interact with each other again.
Right.
And they bring the child right back to the same school that allegedly, well, it's not alleged because it's on paperwork, it's documented that rape or molested your child. They bring that child right back to the same school your child is going to. How do Celeste feel about this? How do this affect her mentally?
Well, let me clarify. Celeste is not at Tyler anymore.
Okay.
And she's not at Tyler. Hampton City Schools nor the Hampton School Board had nothing to do with removing Celeste from Tyler. I did that on my own.
Wow. Why did you do that?
Because I have to make sure that Celeste is safe. And if with their refusal to do relatively low lift demands, I'm not going to sit there and just be like, "Oh, well, you've refused to do what I've asked for, so I'm just going to give up and let it be." I sent in the applications for both Armstrong and to the school that Celeste goes to now. And by the grace of God, the office manager at that school thought that I was a nice lady, and she advocated with the principal in order to provide Celeste admission into that school. And so that is where she is now.
Wow.
But I do want to add one more thing that I asked for from Hampton City Schools. I asked for them to pay for both Celeste's therapy as well as my own as her support, because this has absolutely re-aggravated some things with me that I thought I put in the past. And it's hard. And it wasn't even the full therapy cost. I asked for them to pay the copays, which are $15 a week.
Wow.
So it would have cost Hampton City Schools $120 a month for both of us to go to therapy.
What
and they
they
refused
say?
that.
Why? And they refused that.
And they refused that. They offered to pay for Celeste to go to therapy, but they put that under the condition that Celeste never leave Hampton City Schools. And if she left Hampton City Schools, then they wouldn't even pay that.
Wow. Now let's go to charges that was brought forth. Were there any charges ever brought forth on the other student that did these things to Celeste?
No. And this is what happened. It took the Hampton Police Department 6 months to contact me in regards to Celeste's police report. They have closed the report with no action. And the detective that contacted me told me that they were doing an audit of sexual assault cases that had come through HPD. And he saw Celeste's report and he just couldn't let it go. And when he contacted me, he apologized profusely. And what they did is they ordered a forensic interview on Celeste 6 months later, but they ordered it. And they did an interview and then they did a physical exam at CHKD.
So you're telling me that the Department of Hampton Police Department took 6 months to come out and look at the case, and after 6 months, after after the rape or the molestation of Celeste, they then order a rape kit from the Church and Hospital of CHKD 6 months later.
Well, a forensic interview. I don't know if I can call it a rape kit because I'm
Okay,
not.
a forensic
A forensic
interview.
interview. Yes.
Forensic interview, and what did they do to her at CHKD 6 months later?
They did, well, they interviewed her about what had happened, and then they did a physical exam of her to make sure that there was nothing out of place or anything. Of
6 months
nature.
later.
6 months later, but they did it.
Let me ask you this. Did anyone from the school send her to seek medical, or did you take her to seek medical after this thing happened?
They basically, I was told that the police would follow up with me in order to do, the physical exam of Celeste after the report was filed, and then it just continued to drag on and on and on and on and on. But this is what I can say. Is that after the forensic interview and the physical exam, the detective that was in charge of Celeste's case did state that he had probable cause to charge the other student with a crime. He took all of the information that he had to the assistant Commonwealth attorney, and they declined to prosecute based on the child's age.
So no charges has been brought forth due to the age of the child.
Correct.
So your child is left scarred and also damaged.
Correct.
Did you contact the school and ask them why didn't they inform you that the other child was going to be in the presence of your child? And did they respond?
Well, the administration of the situation had transferred to school administration. And then the moment that I hired an attorney, the school's not going to talk to me.
Wow.
So, but this back and forth between my lawyer and the school board general counsel, like, I don't even know how to describe how disheartening it was. She just continued, like, every reasonable thing that I asked for was just batted down.
Wow.
And it got to a point, especially after Celeste realized that the student was back at Tyler, where she's like, if I stay if I continue to go to school here, what is going to stop her from being at my school again? What if she comes to insert the name of her current school? What if I see her in middle school? And so at that point, I was just kind of done with Hampton City Schools. And, through the advice of my lawyer, I requested that a demand letter be sent. And what was requested in the demand letter was private school education for Celeste, the payment of the co-payments for therapy, and there was a very conservative pain and suffering amount put on top of that I requested, so that Hampton City Schools would at least come back to us with the baseline of private school tuition and therapy, and I would have accepted that if they would have came back to me with that.
What did they come back with?
They hired another lawyer, this guy who works for Pender and Coward, and and he responded with, and understand he's talking about an 8-year-old.
Okay.
He says, even if your client is seen in the most favorable light, the Hampton School Board nor any of his employees have any liability.
Wow. So their lawyer allegedly told you, because you sent a demand letter, that the Hampton School Board or their employees are not liable for what happened to Celeste.
Correct.
That's sad.
It's ridiculous.
what are you looking for? I mean, first of all, what do you want done to the child, if anything? What would you like seen done to the child? The child that assaulted your child, the child that molested your child, the child that raped your child. What was your recommendations as a parent that you wanted done? Because people want to know, what type of charges do you think would have been fair?
Okay. I want you to understand, I am not jaded enough to think that this is organic. Either something was done to that little girl,
Okay.
or she saw something
Okay.
that made her think that it was okay to do this to my kid. But at the end of the day, I have to protect my own.
Okay.
If the Commonwealth Attorney had reached out to me to ask me what I wanted, what I would have asked for was that she be put under court-ordered psychiatric care.
Wow.
So that it can be, she can be given the therapy and the tools that she would need in order for her to address whatever it was that happened to her, as well as for her to be able to heal and know that she couldn't do this to another child. I don't want this little girl locked up. In all honesty, I pray for her. I pray for her family, because in this situation, both of our children are victims. But at the end of the day, they both need some kind of help.
Right.
And I understand that. And it's, it's on her parents and her supports to handle her side of it, and on me and my husband to handle Celeste's. And, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that this would not have happened if the school had been more attentive to the bathrooms or anything like that. Once, okay, I understand that, because everybody can't see everything at every time. But for 2 years, no.
Then during those 2 years, did Celeste, did anything about her behavior change? Did she start wetting the bed? What did she start saying, "Mommy, I don't want to go to school today"? I know you said she was an honor roll student. Did she show you any type of signs as you look back? Let me say this: telltale signs that we can't see at that moment, but when you look back,
Right.
Can you recall any type of telltale signs now that other parents may want to look out for?
She became more withdrawn. Her grades did drop a little bit, but it wasn't anything significant. Like, she maintained honor roll until like the 9 weeks before this, all kind of blew up. And that 9 weeks, she got a C on her report card. And literally the conversation that I had with my daughter was, "You're not a C student, fix it." And her response was, "Okay, mommy." And that was the end of it. But, when you look at things like that, hindsight's 2020. So, seeing her grades drop a little bit, seeing that she was becoming a little bit more withdrawn and a little more agitated when she interacted with her little brother, things like that, those are the things that, now I look at and I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Let me ask you this. What happened to you when you went to the city of Hampton, Virginia, and you addressed Hampton, Virginia School Board? How was you treated? Did they take your case serious, or did they boot you out of the school board meeting?
Well, I went to the school board meeting on Wednesday, and I had a prepared statement, and I read it at the school board meeting because they have a time where the public can provide input. I started talking, and I wasn't rude. I was very, I was clear, but I wasn't rude. I guess I reached their 5-minute time limit, and the chairman of the school board, Joe Kilgore, interrupted me and told me that I was at my 5-minute limit and I needed to wrap it up.
Wow. You were at your 5-minute time limit, and you need to wrap it up when you was addressing Hampton City School Board about the rape that happened over 2 years of a student of theirs, which is your child.
Correct.
Under their custody. And he said you over your 5 minutes, wrap it up.
And that's on video.
And that's on video, guys, and you can see it. Like Brian Askew said, if you can't get it in cash, you can get it on tape. How can they see that video if they want to see it?
Okay. It's on YouTube, on the Hampton City Schools website. I start talking at the 1 hour, 34 minutes mark. Or I have all of this information that I've discussed today in a Facebook group for Celeste. It's called Justice for Celeste. And then you'll see a hashtag that says hashtag 8 for Celeste. And you're more than welcome to join our group. I'll let you in and you can see everything that I'm talking about.
You have the receipts.
I have the receipts. I have them in writing. I have them on video. And that's the whole thing. It's like through this entire process, I've asked for things that were low list for the Hampton School Board. I haven't, the day that I found out about this, I had a face-to-face conversation with a member of the school board. To her face. She was, at that point, she was a chairman of the school board, and she told me that she was going to reach out to the superintendent. So there's no way that they, as a body, including the superintendent of Hampton City Schools, did not know about what happened to my daughter, because not just one person, I know at least 3 that reached directly out to Jeffrey Smith to tell him, number 1, that this had happened to Celeste, and number 2, to let them know, hey, this parent. She's active in our community. She's she's the advisor for the youth council with the NAACP. You know her.
So you're an advisor for the NAACP, and here you are, can't even get justice for your own child.
Correct.
How did that make you feel?
It makes me feel sad. It makes me angry, of course, but I am disappointed in the school system that educated me. I am a product of Hampton City Schools. I graduated from Kecoughtan High School, which is a school that my 15-year-old goes to right now. And before this incident, I was proud to be a product of Hampton City Schools. But now I'm just disappointed and disgusted with the heartless response that I've received from HCS and the school board. And it's continued to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And now we've got to gear up for a legal battle that is probably going to be exhaustively expensive. But you know what? I'm not going to give up. My family's not going to give up. We're strong. Celeste is strong. And we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that she receives the justice that she deserves.
And I'm sorry, guys, we are running over our time limit. We do have another interview that will be started at 6 o'clock. This will be a continued interview right here. We're going to follow up and do follow-ups for Celeste to make sure justice is served on the behalf of that baby. Also, I want to give you a couple of minutes. If you can answer a couple of questions, I just want to throw at you right quick. If you had something to say to the school board, I would like for you to look directly into that camera and take this opportunity where you don't have just 5 minutes to speak your mind and say what you want to say to them.
Basically, if you cannot ensure the safety of our children in the schools that you were elected to serve, then you don't need to be on the school board. Resign, retire, whatever. You need to do something else other than, dictate what happens with our children. And if the superintendent can't follow through and ensure the safety of our children in Hampton, then you need to go too. I don't care how long you've been in Hampton City Schools, because you haven't been there that long. But if you can't do what is respectful and what's responsible for children like, for my child, as well as the sons and daughters of others that are educated by Hampton City Schools, then we need to clean house. You need to go.
Another question. If you had the opportunity to look in the district attorney phase who decided not to bring charges or do anything about what happened to your child for failing you and also Celeste, what would you say to him? Look directly into that camera and tell him how you feel.
Okay. Anton Bell, I would ask that, one of your assistant Commonwealth attorneys made the decision not to prosecute this case or not to, make sure that there were any follow up or any recommendations on how things should be handled for this other student. I would ask that you revisit this case and I'm not saying that you have to throw her in juvenile detention. I'm not saying that you have to give her this long record. But what I am saying is that you can set forward things that her parents have to do and that she has to do in order to make sure that the remaining children who are in the school that she's in and in our community are safe.
Wow, that's deep. Did CPS reach out, Child Protective Services, reach out to you due to this allegation of your child being raped at one of Hampton public schools?
No. I was told that CPS was contacted in regards to this case. I was told that the school did contact CPS, but there was no follow up with me.
Nobody contacted
Zero.
you behind your daughter rape?
Zero.
Do you feel as though CPS has not yet failed you, but also failed your child?
That's not something that I can answer at this point. I am not going to make an assumption that CPS didn't do anything. All I can say is that they didn't contact me. They may have reached out to the other parent involved and they may have, conducted an investigation on their end. It's very possible. And then I might not have been privy to that conversation or the way that
You
investigation
seem to be a
happened.
very smart, educated woman. How can they do an investigation on the behalf of your child if your child is the victim and she was never investigated?
I agree. But the thing is that I think of this from the perspective of, let's say there's a fight at the school and another child assaults another student or anything
sorry.
like that.
No. CPS, she nice. I ain't. CPS, I tell you how she feel. You dropped the ball. You didn't do your job, and you are part of the people sweeping what happened to Celeste underneath the rug. Y'all trying to hide the fact that this child was raped in school at Hampton Public School, molested, whatever it is. Y'all trying to hide it and with the Commonwealth attorney and brush it underneath the rug like it didn't happen. But it happened at the elementary school. And what elementary school was that?
It was John Tyler Elementary in Hampton.
And what we're saying is, and why we're here is that we want to know, is this the first case? Is this the only case? Or is there going to be any more cases? Guess what? It's not if, the word is when. It's going to be another case. And it's just like that. Look this camera in the face right now and talk to the parents on how serious they should take it and speak to their kids on a daily basis when they're leaving the home. It don't matter if they're leaving the home and going to your neighbor house. It don't matter if your kids leaving the home, going to spend the night at your sister, your daughter house. You need to talk to your kids because things are happening to these kids. And like myself, when I was raped at 8, I didn't feel comfortable telling nobody because we are scared. Kids are scared. So what would be your advice so they don't drop the ball like my mom's dropped the ball on me and I turned around and dropped the ball on my daughter? I was raped myself. And guess what? The telltale signs I did not see. And I'm going to tell you what the telltale sign was. Mommy, do you have to go to work again today? Mm-hmm. That little voice, that one question, I never forget. When I found out she was raped, that's why she asked me that question. Because she did not want to be left with the pastor of the church, which was her step-grandfather again.
Oh, no.
Okay? So what would you say to the parents as far as about looking out for your kids or talking to your kids on a daily basis, whether it's entering school, if it's entering playing basketball with the neighborhood basketball team or football team? What would you say as advice as a mother from you dropping the ball and not seeing the telltale signs?
What I would say is it is never too early to have a conversation with your kids about bad touching. never. And, you know, having those conversations about, hey, how was your day? Did you meet anybody new? Was everything okay? Asking those questions so that you can kind of probe, and so that your kids know that they can always talk to you. And in my situation, it wasn't that my daughter didn't feel that she could talk to me. It's that she was scared that
Right.
someone was going to do me harm.
Right.
And that is
And most kids are not scared to talk to their moms. I mean, ain't they scared. They ashamed. I was ashamed. I was afraid to tell somebody. It was embarrassing.
And I mean, the thing is that and this is something that I deal with in therapy now, that my daughter was so determined to protect me that she allowed somebody else to do her harm. And that's something I'm going to deal with probably for the rest of my life.
As a woman to a woman, as a rape victim myself, it you don't never really get over it. It affects
Never.
you. It affects you for a very long time. Even in your even when you're 40, 50, through your teenager years, through your marriage, through your senior years. I can tell you that she will need ongoing counseling.
Absolutely.
Also, I would like to also address, guys, as parents, we can't hold ourselves responsible. We was not the one that raped our child. We was not the one that molested our child. But my advice would be to parents, speak with your kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason I use the word drop the ball, because I always ask my kids, anybody touch you down there? Anybody touch your poo-poo? Anybody touch you in a place that you didn't want to be touched at? And they were like, stop asking me that. Stop asking me that. Never stop asking them
never
that.
stop asking that.
Never, I don't care how much you make them feel uncomfortable. Never stop asking them that.
Absolutely.
I am the infamous Miss Rhoda Young Live. Well, you did see it here first. Before Weaving News 10, Channel 3, and also Channel 13 News. If I can ask you one last question. What made you contact me and why?
I don't think that Hampton City Schools is going to do anything for my child unless there is a public outcry. And I felt that with your platform and with your voice, that you would be able to get this issue the attention that it needs and deserves, so that my child can get justice.
And justice will be served, and it's just like that. Until we meet again, guys, on Rhoda Young Live, hashtag Celeste.
8 for Celeste.
8 for Celeste. And guys, y'all can find her on Facebook. It's a private group. If you want any more details, go to that site. One more time, what is the site?
It's Justice for Celeste, the word for, not the number. Justice for Celeste, and then you'll see the hashtag 8 for Celeste.
And thank you guys for tuning in. I do have another show that's going to start at 8 o'clock. At 6 o'clock tonight, guys. At 6 o'clock tonight. And guess who I'm bringing on? Norfolk City attorneys. We got 2 prosecuting attorneys and 1 defense attorney that's running for the head of the Commonwealth Attorney Office, District Attorney Office. That the one who decided to charge that child and the one that decided not to charge that child. I'm going to have all 3 of them right here at 6 o'clock. So y'all tune back in at 6 o'clock. Because we're going to ask the city of Norfolk, how would they have handled that case if we elect them as the head of the District Attorney Office here in the beautiful city of Norfolk, Virginia. I am the infamous Miss Rhoda Young Live. Until we meet again, I'm Rhoda Young Live. Rhoda Young Live. Rhoda Young Live. And it's just like that. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't wear it on your sleeve. You did all you can do as a mother, and you are continuing to do all you can do as a mother.
I'm trying.
You're doing it. You're doing it. You hold your head up. You hold your head up. And the best way to get through things is like talking your way through like we're doing now. I hate the hardest part of my life was I lied. Even after I didn't find out I was raped, I lied my whole life about me being raped. I was so ashamed to let people know. My family knew. I didn't want my husband, my first husband to know, my second husband to know. I didn't want my friends to know. Like everybody used to talk about who you lost your virginity to. I hate to lie. Because my virginity, I didn't lose. It was stolen.
It was taken.
It was stolen. I couldn't tell my friends that at 14, 15, 16 years old. I hate to lie.
I mean, there's nobody that I know that doesn't have a sexual assault past. I mean, it's harder to find somebody who doesn't than it is with someone who does. And my worst nightmare was that now my 8-year-old has a sexual assault past. And it's not right. But at the end of the day, Hampton City Schools was in a place to protect my kid, and they didn't. And so,
What are you looking for from, before we go, because I do have to go, what are you looking for from Hampton Public Schools? What are you looking for?
okay, I do have to admit that as I have had to speak before the school board and as I've had to solicit help from other places, my demands from Hampton City Schools has changed. Still, the baseline is private school tuition, payment for therapy. Those are non-negotiables. But at this point, I want them to change policies with Hampton City Schools to where the bathrooms in every school have to be checked in 15-minute intervals at minimum. I want them to have to set up a annual sexual assault workshop for grades K through 12 with parent opt-out if they so choose. I mean, those are the things that I can think of at this point. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that that list will grow as, you know, I continue to ponder on this and as we continue to get, you know, more, you know, more suggestions from other people. But, you know, even in this, you know, I'm not a clout chaser. If I was looking for money and all of that, then this conversation wouldn't have been happening 13 months later.
Right.
It would have happened the day that it happened.
And you heard it here first, guys, and we're now out of time. Once again, we will bring her back onto the show. And thank you for contacting the Rhoda Young TV show. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And we are praying for your daughter. We're praying that God just heal her and be a hedge around her life. And that this don't affect her too bad. Until we meet again on Rhoda Young Live, guys. And I'll be seeing y'all in 15 minutes with Norfolk District Commonwealth Office. 2 prosecutors, 1 defense lawyer running for the same seat in the head of the Norfolk Commonwealth Office. Until we meet again on Rhoda Young Live.